Hi, I'm Tom Fitton, President of Judicial Watch, with Judicial Watch's weekly update on Facebook Live. A lot going on these past few weeks at Judicial Watch, as always, certainly with the Clinton email scandal. And I have a new Freedom of Information Act lawsuit to announce to you today. We filed it a week and a half ago, but we are just announcing it today. And it's against the Department of Justice, and it's for access to the FBI materials on the Clinton email investigation. Now, the news is that, as we suspected from the get-go, the FBI, certainly after Mr. Comey gave Mrs. Clinton that get-out-of-jail-free pass card, that the FBI investigation and the Department of Justice, the Obama-run Department of Justice that was really running the FBI, was thoroughly corrupted. And revelation after revelation suggests that to be the case. So our lawsuit asks for the 302s, which are the reports the FBI generates. If you're interviewed by the FBI, usually two agents come in, and then they leave, and they write up a narrative report as to what you said. And they've released some of those 302s from Mrs. Clinton and some other aides, but many of them have yet to be released as best we can tell. But we've also asked for more documents more broadly, including documents about that really scandalous meeting that Bill Clinton had with Attorney General Loretta Lynch on the tarmac of the airport in Arizona just a week or even less than a week before Hillary Clinton was interviewed by the FBI. So we want all of that information. Are there immunity agreements we haven't seen? You know, I think it's interesting, but I'm not sure we can be sure that Hillary Clinton didn't get an immunity agreement from the Department of Justice and the FBI. And of course, if that were the case, that would really be even more outrageous. And this information is even more important in light of other information that's come out since then about the FBI, Justice Department investigation, and the nature of some of these immunity agreements. Everybody got immunity agreements, it seems, who should have been targets, like Cheryl Mills and other people. In the case of Cheryl Mills and Heather Samuelson, another Clinton lawyer responsible for the review of Hillary Clinton's emails and the deletion of some of them, they agreed to turn over their laptop under this immunity agreements, laptops under these immunity agreements, and the FBI reportedly agreed to smash the laptops, destroy the laptops, which is just incredible. Why would the FBI or Justice Department be destroying evidence they're gathering? It's just remarkable. And then just this past week, we had this major story in the Wall Street Journal. I'm pretty sure we linked it on our website at judicialwatch.org. We probably have it linked at Facebook, where Terry McAuliffe, the corrupt governor of Virginia, and we've had many run-ins with Terry McAuliffe in the past, believe me, going back during the Clinton administration, where he was a shakedown artist working for the Clinton gang. Terry McAuliffe gave or directed hundreds of thousands of dollars to the political campaign of a top FBI official, the number 3, and then he was promoted shortly thereafter to the number 2. He necessarily would have been involved in Clinton email investigations or Clinton Foundation investigations, and his wife is getting $500,000 from Mrs. Clinton's, well over $500,000 from as a result of the interventions by Mrs. Clinton's top political ally elected in the United States, which is Terry McAuliffe. And it's difficult to overstate how close he is to the Clintons. A real scandal. That's why the Wall Street Journal gave it the play it did. Probably didn't see about much of it in the rest of the media, but it shows you why this lawsuit that we just filed in federal court is so important, because it gets to that. It gets to whether that individual, Mr. McCabe, I think his name is the FBI officially, I think he's number 2 now, what his extent of his involvement was in the Clinton email investigation. And again, it just lends credence to this appearance and leads to this conflict of interest and the corruption associated with the FBI and Justice Department investigations. You know, we're now investigating the investigators. That's what Judicial Watch is for. Important lawsuit in that regard. And I told you earlier this week also, a lot of news about election integrity. The American people are fearing that the elections are susceptible to fraud, and that's correct. And that's why we have this plan through our Election Integrity Project to conduct, to put some observers in polling places in Virginia where there are particular problems. Virginia, again, run by who? Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia. There are dead people on the rolls there. We have non-citizens on the rolls there in great numbers. and just a lot of problems in terms of having people there in the tens of thousands who are registered to vote, not only in Virginia but in other states. So when you're registered to vote in more than one location, that's an indication that you have an opportunity for fraud, and that's why we'll have observers in Virginia. And as far as I can tell, we're the only non-party, non-campaign group that will have election observers, at least from the right side of the aisle, anywhere in the United States. We won't have too many people there. We're a little old Judicial Watch, but when you see the news stories on it, the left is training thousands to go into the polls. So most of the people that you'll see observing elections, if you go to vote in November, will be either there on behalf of campaigns and the parties or left-wing groups. And it's going to be just little old Judicial Watch in Virginia trying to keep watch of what's going on. And my view is if you're a citizen and you can observe at the polls on behalf of a party or a campaign of your choice, that's an opportunity that you should try to take. And you should go there and follow the rules and follow the law and not interfere. But we have a right to provide oversight over our election system, and as the law allows, to the degree you're a citizen, you should interested in that. You should see what the opportunities are. It may be a little too late to do some of that, but my guess is the parties and the candidates that you like would need the volunteers to monitor the polls on elections, and you should see what the rules are that allow you to participate, and that's a great civic exercise in addition to your right to vote. On Monday, we deposed Eric, I forget his first name, but Lord help me, Mr. Bentel, who was an IT official at the State Department under Hillary Clinton, who knew, according to emails, about her email system. He took the fifth. I thought it was over 90 times, but we ended up getting the transcript. So the transcript's available. I talked about it earlier this week. He took the Fifth Amendment 87 times. He's the second government official out of the Clinton State Department to take the Fifth Amendment in our Freedom of Information Act discovery case, which is before Judge Sullivan. It's simply deplorable that we're in this situation where we have top government officials and bureaucrats taking the Fifth Amendment and not providing the information we need for the courts. Now, the interesting thing is, we may seek to kind of force Mr. Bentel to actually give us the information. But if you take the Fifth Amendment in the civil litigation, in our FOIA litigation, which is civil litigation, unlike the criminal context, and I'm not a lawyer, but this is what I understand the law to be, courts can draw adverse conclusions based on someone taking the Fifth. So it can't be used against you in a court of law if you're being pursued criminally. But in a civil lawsuit, if you take the Fifth, the courts can draw adverse conclusions about that and use it against you. So when you have State Department officials taking the Fifth about Clinton's email, the courts can draw some interesting conclusions there. And frankly, the American people should draw the conclusion that there are criminal implications to Hillary's email and the Freedom of Information Act. And, that goes to our lawsuit against the FBI. Some news this week, and I'll leave you with this interesting thought, and we've talked about this before here on our Facebook Live reports, which is the issue of impeachment. I've gotten a few calls from reporters this week about what's going to happen if Hillary Clinton becomes president, which I know may be a big if, but odds are she might be based on the polls, but depending on which polls you read, I don't know what's going to happen. And they want to know what Republicans are going to do. And you know what I think Republicans are going to do, which is not much. But if they were to do something, one thing they should consider, and should have considered even before then, which is the impeachment of Hillary Clinton. They could have impeached her for her conduct as Secretary of State long ago, and certainly that option will remain available to them even if she becomes president. So, as you might imagine, the left gets a little bit annoyed when I mention the word impeachment and Hillary Clinton, but it's a fact. I don't know what's so extraordinary about the idea of impeachment. She could be indicted. That's for the Justice Department to do, our criminal justice system to do. But what's the political accountability for someone who abuses office of public trust at the federal level? It's impeachment. So I think what's extraordinary is not so much the reaction to the idea that Hillary Clinton can be held accountable for misconduct as Secretary of State, all the damage she did, but it's extraordinary that why isn't Judicial Watch raising it, and why isn't leadership from Congress raising it? It's right in there in the Constitution, and yet it's Judicial Watch that is having to raise this issue. And I don't know whether it would necessarily result in her impeachment by the House or her removal from office by the Senate, but that's one of the key tools of accountability our founding fathers gave us, and it's one that Republicans are loath to exercise. And that's why it's important you have independent groups like Judicial Watch who are doing our independent investigations, our independent litigation, and raising the clarion call as to what Congress needs to be doing to fulfill its obligations of oversight to the American people and to fulfill its constitutional role in our separation of powers type government, where the executive branch has the legislative branch to provide oversight and especially over misconduct. So this is something that I'm sure is going to cause some controversy, but it's something that needs to be considered. And the controversy is a result of Mrs. Clinton's misconduct, not the constitutional response to that misconduct by Congress or by independent groups like Judicial Watch calling for Congress to get its act together and do its job. I'm not naive about what Congress will do, but we still have to say the right thing, don't you think? So all of this is going on. We have more emails we'll be releasing next week from Clinton World. These WikiLeaks emails, I encourage you to track those. There are these new, especially this new revelation about the detailing of the Clinton Cash Inc. and the intersection between the foundation and all these shady enterprises that the Clinton gang were running. And a lot of it confirms prior Judicial Watch reporting about it, and shows the Clinton campaign's been lying when they attacked Judicial Watch as being all wet with respect to criticizing the pay-for-play schemes and the unethical and arguably illegal conduct related to the foundation. And again, all this is showing that none of this is going away with the election. There has to be a serious criminal investigation of Hillary Clinton, and if it doesn't, it's going to be kind of a nightmare here in D.C. in terms of the rule of law. So you can count on Judicial Watch to continue to push for the truth and continue to push for government accountability. And we'll use the tools available to us, and it's up to you, the American people, to make sure the rest of the institutions of Washington do the work that they can do under the Constitution. But in the meantime, we get things done, so be sure to support us. So have a great weekend. Thanks for listening to me, and a lot of this material I've been talking about is available on our website at judicialwatch.org. Of course, you can track our work here on Facebook as well. So have a great weekend, and thank you.